Do 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 do. Do 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 do. You're welcome. Stuck in your brain now too.
Hey, welcome back to our Stupid Reactions. You have Corbin. And you can follow us on Instagram, Twitter for more juicy content. Thanks on Patreon. Follow us on Twitter account. Subscribe if you haven't hit the like button. Why? Why, Rick? Why?
It helps the algorithm!
Wow. And today... Sorry, I wanted to sing a cappella for a second.
It worked.
And we are doing a movie review. And since it is February, I don't know if I'm doing an official romance month, but we are going to do romance films. And so, obviously...
Films that are romantic.
Today we are doing a review of the... I guess it would be qualified as a romance film.
Yes.
LAMHE.
I think it qualifies. Why were you doubting?
There's a gray area here.
What else would it be?
Psychological thriller.
Yes, clearly.
But anyways, obviously we're doing the 1991, great year, by the way. LAMHE, is that how you pronounce it?
I would think so.
LAMHE?
Yeah, LAMHE.
Directed by Yash
Very
Chopra.
unknown actor. Director.
Director.
Most people are unfamiliar
And
with.
produced by him.
Yeah.
I also wanted to get to some romance films that he directed as well. I know we've seen some, but since he has that big romance kind of series coming out that we are pretty excited for, I wanted to get some more films so we can get a lot more references and that kind of stuff as well.
Yeah.
Produced, directed by him. Screenplay by Honey Irani. And dialogue by Rahi.
Rahi Masoom Reza.
And starring... once again, a couple of unknowns. Anil Kapoor, Sridevi, and Anupam Kaur everywhere. And obviously a whole heap of other people. But anyways, obviously this came out in 1991. If you haven't watched it, we saw it on Amazon. You can go watch it, come back. I think it's kind of a cult classic. A lot of people know of this film.
Yeah.
Quite a bit. But if you haven't watched it, go watch it, come back, because this will be a spoiler-filled review.
Big time.
Your initial thoughts, please, Rick.
Well, there's a lot that we're going to talk about, but my biggest takeaway from this is probably one of the greatest lines in cinematic history.
Oh, God.
Which is, don't hit a retarded child.
Please, I'm going to bleep that out.
Why? It's in the movie.
I'm aware. It makes me so uncomfortable.
It makes me so awful. Speaking of which, this is probably one of the single greatest compilations of putrefying, horrendous, you had a split second to just say something, awful white acting in the history of all cinema on the planet.
Sometimes they didn't even say anything. They ruined it, right?
It just saw the back of their head and you knew, oh God, please don't say anything. And
they ruined it just by not saying anything.
Exactly. In all seriousness, this is one of the most excruciating movies I've actually ever liked.
Yeah, this is a very...
It's painful.
It's a very interesting film, and I think the most interesting part is the dialogue you kind of have to have. Because oftentimes, I was like, we don't judge films off of our modern day lens, but sometimes it's a little difficult based off of some scenarios. But also, there's a whole different aspect of just the filmmaking and the beauty and the well-madeness of a film as well that we'll talk about. But then there's also the, I would call it semi-problematic. Some people don't think so as well.
Well, that's just subject matter. And then there's also some glaringly hideous moments when it comes to acting.
Anupam?
Everybody.
Okay.
The one who has it the least is Sridevi.
Yeah.
And then Anil Kapoor. But pretty much one of my favorite things, and it's just the standard of the day, and it just drives me crazy, is how many times people are directed to say their line into the middle distance.
Yeah.
That's my favorite. But, so I was talking to them, and I told them that I would tell them about the days that I remember so long ago, when I was a child back at the river. You remember those days when we used to walk along the sand and...
It's just how it is.
It's rough.
It's just how it was.
It's rough, yeah. But Anupam Kaur, should we start with him? Since this is his movie?
So we'll get into the subject matter in a little bit. Then we'll talk about the filmmaking like we normally do first.
Yeah.
I think the most interesting part is actually the subject matter and what some people think would be problematic, some people don't think is problematic.
The biggest issue I have with the film is the age difference. How is an age difference like that ever going to work between two? Oh wait, I don't know.
I don't think it's particularly the age difference as opposed to.
Now, that was just to all the haters who told me that Indrani and I would never work out.
Yeah. Anyways, but yeah, let's get into the acting, the story first. But actually, we'll get to an Anupam Kher in a second.
Yeah, we will. How can you not?
The most Anupam Kher I've ever seen in my life.
But he was more Anupam Kher than Anupam Kher.
That's true. I want to talk about our two leads first because I especially enjoyed them. But Sridevi, first and foremost, obviously, she's a phenomenal actress. India loves dual roles more than any country I've ever seen.
Yeah.
They love their stars having two characters played by the same actor in a movie.
When she died, which I loved, I was like, oh, cool, she died, but she's not gone.
No.
Guarantee she will be back.
There's hour 45.
Oh yeah, just how are they going to bring her back? But she will be back.
Yes, absolutely. But especially in the first hour, her beauty was just dripping.
What? Okay.
My word, is she one of the most gorgeous women?
What technically would you say the color of her eyes are? Are they light brown or hazel brown?
They are stars.
Yeah. They're like almost a color I've never seen.
Yeah, they are.
Her eye color is just magnetic.
She has. I equate her a lot to like Zooey Deschanel in terms of like Zooey Deschanel has these massive eyes,
right?
And that's one of the things,
the attributes
about her. But man, she obviously in the beginning when she was just in dancing and in the Rajasthani traditional clothing and. She was just, I mean, the entire film she was gorgeous, but especially that first hour when it was adult Sridevi, or, I mean, I guess they're both technically adults, right?
Yeah.
But the mom, Sridevi,
right?
She was just so gorgeous. Like, it's just, it's almost like when you sit there, but different, like when a Shari will rise on screen.
Yeah.
My God.
Yeah.
Must be easy for this director.
Yeah, and it must be easy for every leading man. It's like, one of my compliments of Anil Kapoor is I believe 100% he's in love with her.
Oh, yeah.
Well, how can you not look at Sridevi and just be flabbergasted because she's such a beautiful, beautiful lady?
And I thought, outside of obviously when she was like directed to, obviously it's just the time of the day and like when they want them to act like a little childish, it's always like so different to how people in the West would do. Certain scenes, but it's just
very different,
very common as well.
You got to have that. You have to have those. You know what it's like watching Indian, particularly Hindi cinema of this day and age. You have to have a particular lens on to appreciate it for what it is, or you're going to not enjoy the experience. In the same way that if you went into a 3D film without the glasses on, you're just going to be annoyed.
Yeah.
You have to have a certain perspective to appreciate it.
Yeah, I don't think this film is totally that, because I think there's a lot of good things about this film in terms of like how it was directed and the weavingness of the story and all that. But I thought Sridevi did a very good job. I thought Anil Kapoor also. It was so funny. In the beginning, he looked so young.
I know.
Younger than Mr. India. I
felt
like.
He looked
without
very,
the mustache.
very young.
And he was like... but like he's a very subdued actor, obviously. But then obviously there were times as well.
Boy, was his character slap happy. It's like,
yes.
People had a problem with Kabir Singh.
But
and it was amazing. In memory, sometimes it was a backhand, sometimes it was a forehand.
I loved the fact that they made a song.
About the slap. It was her flash dance moment.
Yeah. I loved it, actually. I was like, oh, this is like a Footloose, like angry dance.
I did love it.
Moment, but then they incorporated the slaps into the song.
Over and over.
Which I thought was a lot of fun. The songs in this were gorgeous.
Yeah, the songs are some of my favorite parts.
I would have been shocked if the songs weren't gorgeous.
Of course.
Just the time of Bollywood, what I know about this film. We saw one song when she was giving them that Glob Glob 9000 in the helicopter. I saw it again.
Yep.
She was
and I also appreciated in the score, we had the main theme, but there were also variations on the theme throughout the film where you would hear it, but it was either changed by tempo or even changed melodically, so it sounded more positive, and then it was really nice.
I 100% believed Anil Kapoor fell in love with her immediately, which is not surprising. You could put any man, I guess, in that, or woman in that scenario, and they probably would have fallen in love with Sridevi because of how gorgeous she is, right? So I believe I believe that this young girl was infatuated with him.
Yes.
Creepily so. Once again,
since she was 5.
So we'll get into that.
Yeah.
Anil Kapoor.
Man, there was a moment where someone said, "How can you tolerate this man?" And I thought, it's really hard. It's getting really hard for me to tolerate this man in this movie.
We've seen Anil Kapoor, and
you mean Anupam Kher?
Anupam Kher, sorry. In many films, be this style.
Be like this, yes.
And we've all seen him be very subdued, and I think of a very versatile. Sometimes this stuff works really well, but I think it's more when this works when everybody else is on his level.
Yeah.
Like in Kabika or whatever the SRK films that he's in, right? And that he's the dad.
Right.
This, he was like so drastically above everyone else. There was just shocking to me.
There wasn't anything charming about it to me in the same way that there is like in DDLJ and things of that nature. There wasn't any charm. It was just, oh, good grief. Somebody tell this guy to ratchet it down a notch. And that's coming from a New York Italian loud improv comedic guy thinking, good grief, this hurts.
Do you remember in Harvest, do you remember Paula Roche?
Yeah. Oh, yeah! Sorry, that's a very personal... You absolutely, Paul LaRoche is Anupam Kher.
He was a local theater actor that he was in our church. And he very sweet guy. Very similar in terms of acting style.
Yes.
But yeah, he was the most like... I mean, he brought it down at some points, and I was like, okay.
Especially at the end. The last 30 minutes, he
this
kind of
is
took a chill
nicer
pill.
Here.
Take a chill pill, Anupam.
And obviously, I know that was his character. I know he was directed to do that.
Yes,
and all that
of
kind
course.
Of stuff. But it was just...
It's written that way.
It was like... Hey, it was like a punch to the face.
He gets credit for going all in.
At the end?
The whole time. Because... One of the things you want, no matter what the genre is, one of the things you want your actors to bring, if you're the director and the writer and the cast, you want them to come in with way more and have them bring it down rather than try to draw something out of them.
Yeah.
He brought it all, man.
This is good.
He was unleashed.
Not by Anupam Kher, but there's another, obviously that first line that you said, which was so... I took a picture of it. I took a picture of 2 lines. That line that you said, because it's just... People used it all the time back in the day. Hollywood, everywhere, in regular life. And it's just... And looking now in 2023, it's like, oh my God.
But it didn't mean any... Back then, I can vouch for this being alive in that era at a time when it was used all the time.
Yeah.
You would call somebody retarded but because the only definition we had for people at the time who suffered from any kind of what at the time was called mental retardation.
Yeah.
It was a standard to call somebody retarded. It didn't carry the level of insult that it should have as it does today.
Yeah. So I took a picture of that, but there's also a line that Sridevi says that when she's talking to Anupam Kher's would-be wife.
Right.
And she says, "Why are you so emotional?" She says, I'm Indian.
That was a great moment. I also thought it was written pretty well. That moment where they're having the meal, or the vanilla ice cream.
Sridevi was vicious.
Sridevi was just straight up.
She was vicious.
Oh.
I was like, oh, I'm scared of you.
Yeah, and did it with a smile.
Yeah, she did.
Just cold.
She was like, it was... And now I guess we could get into some of the... Obviously, I love the overall score, like I said before, and it's beautiful. I think a lot of the way it was weaved, because I thought it was going to almost be a Casablanca situation in the beginning of... Yeah. Oh, this could be like a love triangle.
Right,
that's
me
gonna
too.
Be interesting. And then she died, he died, everybody died.
Yeah, right.
It's just so interesting how Indian films just do, like, you're dead! And then how people die.
I also, this is just not good writing, but it's kind of endearing for the time. Where the way you propel the story forward is not just exposition in the opening about, hey, we've been here for 3 days, and now we all know you've been there for 3 days, but this, hello? You lost the case. We're losing everything! Huh!
Yes.
with a matter of 60 seconds.
Yes. You gotta push the story forward.
Gotta push this in a 3-hour film. It took him 60 seconds to do that.
Sridevi was still alive at this moment.
That's
They
true.
needed to kill her.
Absolutely.
And that was fast too. They killed she's got. Oh, she was in a car crash. He's dead. She's
dead.
in critical condition.
Yeah, you lost the place. What?
Do you want to save the baby or her? No, save her. The baby's fine. She's dead.
And the antagonists who get the place, we don't even know why they won the case. Maybe her dad did something really heinous, and that's why he lost the case.
Yeah, we don't know.
But then
why.
when they show up, they're practically twiddling their mustaches.
Yeah.
Give us our property.
Yeah, it was almost. I think was it from the bad guys from. What's that dragon movie?
How to Train Your Dragon?
No. The green dragon. Is an old film.
Oh.
Not Puff the Magic Dragon. Why am I forgetting?
Never Ending Story. That's not a dragon.
No. It's an animated dragon.
Oh.
But everybody else is real.
Oh, Pete's Dragon.
Pete's Dragon.
Yeah.
The villains in that, I forget what their names are.
I don't remember
I
either.
asked Steph their names, and it's very similar to the maniacal kind
Right.
of things. Did you find the story at all problematic? Any part of it problematic?
There was a part where there's two things I had a
Particularly
problem
the love story with
Yeah. Here's one thing I had a problem with was another freaking Kashi.
What?
Anita, man. Here's another woman loving a guy for years,
Oh, yeah.
and he just ditches her, even though she was totally in love and dedicated to the guy.
Granted, you shouldn't.
Good grief.
Granted, obviously, he shouldn't have pulled her along if he wasn't in love with her.
Exactly. That's his fault. But
Yes.
that's what I mean. She was the Kashi in this.
Don't
Again,
just marry somebody just because they love you, obviously. But don't pull them along either.
No, if there's one thing I had that was problematic for me, it was I didn't feel, and again, look at the film and the time and the kind of film that it is.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't feel like there was anything in the script that really did give me a justification for him saying he truly did only love her for her.
Yeah.
I think that was an entire crock of crap.
At the end.
Yeah. He loved her because she reminded him of her mom.
Yeah, that.
Period.
And I was
Versus loving her for her.
I was struggling with once the film ended, and I wish it didn't. And I'm not going to fault the film for it. I knew how it was going to end.
Oh, of
I was
course.
like, oh god,
They're gonna be together.
They're going to be together,
Of course.
But I didn't want it because I was liking how the dynamic of. I was like, okay, Anil Kapoor obviously loved Sridevi. He's struggling with the fact that she looks very good,
Clownish,
but I was
right.
believing him. I was like, I don't think he loves you.
Right.
I think he's like he's
The idea.
He loves the idea. He's like, you look like the person I love.
Right.
You are not.
Right.
You also, I saw you grow up.
Right.
Which is, there's like age difference. Obviously, doesn't really mean anything to me. Obviously, as long as you're adults.
Right.
Obviously.
Exactly. As long as you
you're
have become
But
adults.
The issue, the gray area, I would say, lies in, like, let's say, this is the scenario. I saw your granddaughter
Right.
grow up.
Right.
And then once she turned 18, we got together.
Right.
That's a little strange.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's the problematic part. I'm like,
That adds a level of strangeness to it. It would be
it's
comparable.
not Woody Allen.
No.
Strange.
Right.
Obviously, that's
Good point.
That's a different
That's a different thing.
level
Right.
of weirdness because
Right.
obviously he wasn't her father, and obviously she didn't really see him as a father figure, but he did see her grow up. It's not bad for her really to be in love with an older person. That's very common for kids.
Very common.
To be like, oh, I love this man. He's like,
Yeah.
I want to marry my dad when I'm older, kind of thing.
Right.
Obviously,
Right.
And so that's not really the strange part. But like, if I was to like
Yeah,
be
that's a good
single
example.
and then I'd not date her when she was younger, but then once she turned 18, she showed interest in me, and you'd question, how long have you shown interest in this little girl?
You absolutely. I mean,
Right?
When did that light switch turn on?
So I think they could have avoided all that and just ended it like with him going his own way, and it's almost a tragedy, especially for Sridevi.
Yeah.
And him thinking, oh, I could have been with this girl even though she wasn't actually her.
Yeah.
That's how I was.
Or
wanting
even addressed it.
Yeah.
I mean, again, it's not that kind of film.
Yeah.
But
I knew how it was going to end.
But had that been addressed in some way, where one of the struggles he's having is that moral conundrum,
Yeah.
because if you have a sense of propriety,
Yeah.
the idea is gonna cross your mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you'll justify.
Yeah.
Even in an age difference.
Yeah.
If you're honest, you're going to address it. For example, my wife and I.
Yeah.
The moment we both realized we had been falling in love with each other, it was a matter of days. We were conversing about how realistic is this relationship.
Yeah.
You're in India, I'm in America. That was one thing.
Yeah.
Can we handle the long distance?
Yeah.
Number two, age difference. Do you want children? Do I want more children?
Yeah.
Am I okay with the fact that I could be dead in 20 years? Is she okay with the fact I could be dead in 20 years? You are brutally honest about that stuff.
Yeah.
Granted, it's not that kind of movie.
No,
but it would have been nice to have seen it addressed in some way.
I thought
in some way.
The end was very rushed. Like, in terms of them, like, it happened almost in the last 5 minutes, right?
He had a very quick turnaround of, no, you know what? Actually, you don't smell like her. You don't really look like her. You're going to make me feel like her. BS. Dude.
I honestly probably would have preferred it to, like, I could cut this movie without adding anything to end correctly. And it could have been like,
and 3 hours is rough.
He got 3
hours was
that's
rough.
expected
But again,
from the time.
Yeah.
It could have, how I would have preferred it to end. Once again, I'm not taking away from the film. This is just why after watching it, I think this could have even been a better movie, ending this way, because you leave people with like questions and longing and stuff like that.
I'll tell you what I wanted. You tell me what you wanted at the end, and I had a very.
He could have said he married her, whether he did or not. Means nothing to me. You could speculate as the audience whether he did. And then the end, her giving that speech at doing like almost the play kind of thing, I think that would have been a perfect ending to just end it there.
We're on the same page.
I think that would have been perfect.
Here's what I was hoping for, but knew it wasn't going to happen.
No.
I knew it wasn't going to happen. He's telling her, no, I see a different gleam in your eye. You smell different, that whole 9 yards. She didn't have any facial change. He says, I love you.
Yeah.
No facial change. He extends his arms. No facial change. She starts walking up to him. I wanted her to slap him.
That would have been cool too.
And say, you're deceiving yourself.
Yeah.
And you're playing with my emotions.
Yeah.
And it end with the heartbreak of, could they have ever been together?
Yeah, that would have been great too. I would have
and
loved
if she had said the monologue there, after slapping him, that would have been epic for me.
Yeah.
But you knew it was going to end with them happy.
Yeah, it's
together. Everything's great.
Old school Bollywood.
Of course.
You knew it was going to end up together. It's just the standard fare of the day. They have to be happy in the end.
Absolutely.
And if you don't think this film is problematic, you can let us know why you don't think it's problematic at all. Whether you, because I posted it on Patreon right after I finished the film. I was like, just finished it. I'm gathering my thoughts of what I think about it. Do you think this film is at all problematic? Yes. Explain why. No. Explain why. I got over 100 comments of people both ways explaining if they think it's extremely problematic or if it's not problematic at all.
But there's two aspects of it. I'm interested in which of the ones they considered, because obviously you and I find the aspect of he's known her since childhood.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the age gap.
Yeah, no, that makes no difference to me.
Me too.
I'm
interested to know how many people have a problem with just the age gap itself.
Yeah, I mean, there are people that
there will be people, of course,
that. But I mean, if he just met this random person that he had never met before,
who looks like her, which we've seen,
who looks like her,
hasn't she done a film where she's
probably?
Yeah, we've seen a film where she's done that.
And she was like an 18-year-old woman, however old, as long as she's an adult, and they met at his age and her as a legal adult,
right?
And but they didn't know each other as children. Like he didn't see her grow up.
Right.
I wouldn't have had an issue.
Right.
I was like, okay, you're two consenting adults. You guys do what you'd like to do.
No, to me, I thought about that,
and it's still
this morning before I came here. I thought if Indrani had died and had a kid that grew up and looked like her, it'd be really weird.
But granted, you've also been dating Indrani. Sridevi never loved him.
Never returned. But even still,
yeah, it's still a gray area.
I can't think of any ex I've had who, if they had a kid, grew up and looked like them, I wouldn't be a little weirded out on myself by the fact that I was liking them. It's problematic.
It's at minimum a gray area.
Right, at minimum. At minimum.
So you guys, I think the conversation is fun though to for a film like this to stir up conversation. I think that's good for a film to do, as opposed to like, that's standard fare kind of film. I thought it was very interesting. I enjoyed the film. I think it's a good film.
Yeah, even for all of the painfulness. I still, what held it together for me was her.
Yeah.
Like so many films
She's great.
we see where
Always.
there's a lone actress who's just holding it all together. And that was this.
Sridevi usually,
the
yeah.
next aspect of that was I, for the most part, enjoyed Anil in this.
Yeah.
And I, even as dreadful as it is, I kind of have this guilty pleasure. It would be like, I don't eat Fruit Loops or Captain Crunch for breakfast.
Uh-huh.
But if there might be this 1 or 2 times a year, I might just venture out and just have it. And that's how I feel about Anupam Kher.
Granted, though, he's gonna, like we saw. I think it was a really good performance in that Ranbir film.
He's a solid actor.
In that Ranbir film, right?
Yeah.
And
No. He's a solid actor.
And we thought he did a good job in
Kashmir
Kashmir
Files.
Files.
Yes.
He did I think he was probably the strongest performance.
Very
in
grounded.
Kashmir
No, he's a
Files.
solid actor. He was
Um,
obviously doing what he was told
Yeah.
to do.
Especially for the 90s.
Yeah. And he, like I said, he gave it all.
Yeah, he did.
Yep.
Anyways, let us know what you thought about the film. Which will be our next kind of romance film from Yash. I say Yash, it makes me think of KGF. Yash Chopra, specifically. And Anil Kapoor and Sridevi. I know they did quite a few films together.
Yes.
I think like 12.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know that exact number, but
Or
I
is
know
that
there's
is
quite
that
a bit.
Troy? I can't remember. Anyways, let us know what it should be down below.